All right, welcome to the In Cayman podcast. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, thank you for having
Thanks
me.
for being here.
Of course.
You're in Cayman.
I'm in Cayman, yeah.
Yeah. Not for very long. How long you been here?
I've been here a week. I leave tomorrow.
You leave tomorrow. And the last time you were here was in January.
Yep, last
So
Christmas.
twice
yeah.
this year.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't come every year.
I try to come every year.
Yeah.
And sometimes I come more than once a year.
Yeah.
Because my family's here, so
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
I've
So
had some long breaks recently,
What
more
do you
than
mean?
usual. Like I'm usually here more frequently. I feel like it's been like long periods of time will go by. Or
Right.
It feels that way anyway.
right. It's definitely been a while since I've seen you, but I know obviously you come back and we don't always
Yeah.
catch up. But great that we caught up this time.
I know.
And I got you on the podcast.
Yes.
I feel like you're like someone there's just so much to talk about. You were doing music at such a young age. I mean, I think since you were born, basically, it seems like.
That's how it feels.
Yeah. How many albums have you done?
Well, let's see. Probably 4. Yeah.
4 LPs?
No, 2 LPs and 2 EPs. Yeah. And now I feel like it's mostly singles that I've been releasing. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll make another kind of larger work, but it hasn't come out like that recently.
Well, I mean, I feel like we're in a different time now.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. So the days of listening to full records are kind of over. I feel like people will release singles and singles and singles and then release them all together as like now here they are in an album,
Is that how they're doing it?
It feels that way. It feels
Right.
like you get to know the album a lot before it comes out.
Right,
It's not just
right.
one song and then an album of songs that you don't like,
Right.
or that you don't know that well. Well, I don't know. I feel kind of out of touch of the music industry. It changes so quickly.
Right.
So
It has changed
yeah.
so quickly.
Yeah.
And so when was your last album?
Oh God. Before the pandemic, I think. I released an EP called The Back of Beyond.
I don't know. I didn't listen to that one.
Yeah, well, that's the new stuff. You gotta
Okay,
hear it,
I do. I
Yeah.
remember your EP. What was the one that I really loved?
A Tale of Two Fish.
Yes, that one. That one. I remember, I think that was like around 2010, around there.
Yeah, it was very soon after I released that very first album, which I've taken down. Nobody's allowed to listen to it anymore
Why?
because I don't like it.
What was the first album?
Between Shores.
That's right. I do remember that
That
one as
was the
well.
big
That was
one.
an LP.
That was an LP. That was
Right.
my first album. Yeah, we came here. We did a CD release.
That's
We did a
right.
concert and a little mini tour.
That's right. I remember you filming the music video for that
I
too.
shot a music video
At Cayman
Loco
Bay?
Cuervo. Yes, at
Yes.
Cayman Bay. Well, all kinds of places we shot, and there was some local celebrities in there, like Elvis and.
Is that
okay.
right? So are we
know-
allowed to see that video?
Well, it's so funny because my father is my biggest fan,
Right.
obviously, and he's like, Natasha, where is this video? I can't find it. I'm like, it's private. I've taken it off YouTube. And he's like, Natasha, and now he's broken his foot, so I feel a little sorry for him. So
Right.
I've made public all my videos, but that's not going to last. So
Right,
you better
right.
take advantage while
Okay,
you can.
right now,
because
okay,
in maybe a week,
okay.
I'm going to take them back down.
Funny. So the album, I can't find that album then.
You might be able to if you look hard enough.
Right.
But, I mean, I've got like 1,000 CDs of it printed in my garage. I can just give you one of those.
I couldn't even play a CD right now if I wanted.
God, I know. Every time I see these boxes, I get so much anxiety. I'm like, what am I going to do with these?
Wow.
And so I think I'm going to make a chandelier or something.
That's cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
some
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
I like
mirror
that.
suit.
I like that. Huh. Great. So you've been in San Diego. I have a question. Are there any other Caymanians in San Diego?
No, there's a couple in LA though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
none that you know of in San
I
Diego?
have not met any Caymanians.
How
in San
interesting.
Diego.
You never
Yeah.
met any Caymanians there?
No.
Yeah, I mean there are a few in LA, and but yeah, I just run into them from time to
Really?
time in different places of the
Oh,
world.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember walking downtown Chicago just on a random day, and I'm like staring at this guy, and he's staring at me. I'm like, "You Caymanian?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Caymanian." I'm like, "Yo," just
What?
weird stuff. Like in San
Wow.
Francisco too. I was on a trip
Wow.
there. And your eyes just cross, and it's like, wow, that guy looks Caymanian. It's like, wait, you are Caymanian. Like
That's wild. I find that very unusual. Yeah, this never happened to me.
Never happened to
No.
you. Well, I've heard it happen to other people.
Wow. Yeah.
Huh. And so tell us a little about the school. You told me a little bit the other night.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 2015, I was a teacher at this little music school, and I kind of I took it over, but also in a way inherited it from the owners at the time, and I called it Calabash. And I had a partner at the time who was a really good friend of mine, who was the friend and the producer that I actually went to San Diego to make my first album with, like
Between Shores?
5 years earlier. Yeah, Between Shores.
Okay.
We became great friends, and when this opportunity arose, I said, Chad, I want to do this with you. I didn't want to do it alone. You know? And so we were partners for the first 2 years, and then now it's just me. And it's been 8 years, and it's beautiful. It's a little, tiny little music and art school. We teach private music lessons. We do art classes. But my favorite thing is the theater program that we do. So we do children's plays, and we put them on during the school year. There'll be like it'll be over 8 or 10 weeks on Sundays that we'll rehearse, and then we'll put on this beautiful play. But in the summers, it's 5 days, and it's just beautiful chaos. It's lovely.
Beautiful chaos.
And it's an excuse for me to nerd out on stories. Like I don't remember books as I read as a kid, but like I feel like I'm revisiting these stories that I either didn't read or I didn't know, but I pick the stories that I, as an adult now, want to dive into. You know?
What stories? Do I know any?
Yeah, well, yes. Well, actually, we're going to be doing the Odyssey in January.
Oh, wow. I've never read that.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
And it's been just coming into my cosmos recently.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Same.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a children's play of the Odyssey. It'll be my excuse
that's awesome.
to dive in. I did that last fall with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Oh, cool.
And of course, The Wind in the Willows was last
Well,
spring.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful book.
Right.
So that was... Yeah, so that's just it. You know,
That's awesome.
It's fun. I get to pick the stories and
indulge in them.
And indulge in them.
Right.
And I mean, I go deep and we all just dive fully in.
Right.
And it's beautiful to do that with children.
That's amazing, actually. I think, it sounds like doing a play on any of these stories, it would almost be a deeper dive than just reading them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because you have to build the world that they live in and the characters and think about like the aesthetics, the visuals, the music, even the time period in such a deep way. And that's, and I love creating experiences that are transportive, so I even will make themed picnics on the last day when we do the play, and everyone will bring food, that's in theme to that. Either like we just did Macbeth with 10 teenagers, and usually the kids will bring like a dish to share. But for whatever reason, I was like, okay, we need to do this one different. It needs to be a banquet. And we need to have Macbeth and Lady Macbeth on either side of the table. Right. And we need to have plates. Like, this is not just going to be some, like, pass around the cookies or something.
Right.
And I was like, and I don't know why, but we need a baked chicken, And so there was this whole thing of, like, going to the store to get this baked chicken. They're like, no, these kids aren't going to eat this. And I was like, it doesn't matter. It's like you need to have a baked chicken on the table for this Macbeth feast. And they ate it.
No questions. Yeah, I'm sure they ate it.
Yeah. It was like the most popular.
Why would they not eat it?
I don't know. I know. It's like, you just guess they did. It was great. And I think it was partly to do with the atmosphere, that made them want to eat this chicken.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah. So what are the age groups? So you said teenagers. I guess I was thinking younger kids.
It is younger. Most of the theater plays we do are from ages 5 to 12. But I've recently started doing some other material for a little bit of an older crowd. So the Frankenstein, for example, Macbeth. It's only been 2 so far, but it's nice to dive into some darker material and something a little bit more sophisticated. So yeah.
And so you do like just like private music lessons as well, like maybe piano lessons, guitar lessons. How many instruments do you play?
Piano's my main instrument. I can play the ukulele, and I do, and I sing, of course. And in high school, I dabbled in
different
some
instruments,
woodwinds. But no, piano's my main jam, and that's what I most enjoy teaching when it comes to private music lessons.
Right.
I love teaching the piano.
Right.
So.
And so you all only do music and art there. Then it's not like you're not teaching any other classes like math or English. Yeah. So this is an after-school kind of program.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Do we have any of that like that in Cayman?
I don't know. I mean, you do have a music school,
we do have a music school. You're right, and another one somewhere. It fails me. Okay. Yeah.
But you know what you do have here, which I feel is different there. I mean, I feel like the schools here generally have a pretty robust musical and art and theater
For
program.
sure. I was telling you about Beauty and the Beast.
Yes,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
really good.
A lot of the schools, as far as I can tell, don't in California right now. Or in
Is
San
that
Diego.
right?
It depends, I guess, on the school and like
Right.
it's private. But no, there a lot of them are. Yeah, it's different. So.
That's strange because, you know, as artists, Caymanian artists, we sort of always moan about it not really having an art scene in Cayman. So it's interesting that you would say that our schools tend to have more art programs than...
When I compare my educational experience here to what I see some of those kids getting, I am so lucky.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, you know, I don't know much about the school system in Cayman anymore, but I remember when I went to college thinking they actually prepared me very well.
Oh, that's good.
Because, you know, I wasn't sure.
You know,
I'm going to America for the first time to go to university, and, you know, there's all these U.S. students.
Right.
And you're going to college, and you're learning these classes, and then it's like, okay, I'm good.
That's
I'm
good.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So your last album was before the pandemic. So what are you doing creatively? You're doing a short, you told me. Short film.
Yes.
You've always done films.
I've made a lot of music videos,
Right.
and I actually got into editing during the pandemic because I made this YouTube series called Miss Natty's Music Box.
Okay, so there's a YouTube series out there, Miss Natty's Music Box. I love it.
And there's an episode on Julia Hydes, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, because for many years I was teaching for this organization called the Center for World Music in San Diego. It's this nonprofit that puts world music in schools. And I was teaching Caymanian folk music to all these kids in San Diego.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so they asked, I had started this series, and I made this character, Miss Natty, and she teaches kids. We did one on Bjork, on Moondog, on Sun Ra, on Kate Bush, David Byrne, and then they asked me to do one. Actually, no, I had done one already on Julia Hydes. It's like, I'm definitely gonna do one on Julia Hydes.
Right.
And so that's one of my favorite episodes.
And that's on YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Wow, so we can
yeah.
go check that
Yeah,
out.
you can even, if you go to the school website too, calabasharts.com, there's a whole page, Miss Natty. And I made, to accompany these videos, because they were educational videos for not just kids, I mean, adults can enjoy them too, but there's hand-drawn workbooks that are worksheets. So it's a really great educational resource for kids at home who want to learn. And there's a playlist, recipes to go with it. So there's like supplementary materials, but the reason I brought that up is because making those in the pandemic, I learned a lot about editing.
Right.
And so I've really enjoyed, and then I also, all the theater plays that we did at the school had to become little movies because we couldn't do live performances.
Okay.
So it kind of changed the way we thought about our productions, and then we ended up filming a lot.
Right.
So that was cool. But yeah, creatively, the music is still going, although it's turned into singles, like I said. So the last one I've released a couple since the pandemic.
Okay.
And
those are where?
Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah. You can check them out there, or you can find them through my stuff. But most of my musical creative energy, actually, that's not to do with the school, is going into this project I have called Baby Bushka.
I've heard of that. Yes, I remember seeing some stuff.
It's been 6 years. So
what is this again?
Okay, so I became obsessed with Kate Bush.
Who's that?
She is a British artist. Her most famous single, you might have heard it, "Running Up That Hill," A Deal with God.
I'm sure when I hear it.
Have you seen Stranger Things?
I saw like the first season.
Okay, well, the last season they released like last summer.
Okay.
This was the song that was everywhere.
Okay.
You probably would recognize. I would be surprised if you didn't.
Right.
But she was really big she came out in 1979 with a single called Wuthering Heights based on the novel. A very, very strange, beautiful, haunting single.
Okay.
And she has this cult following. She's not very well known in America. I didn't know her growing up.
Right.
But
so she's kind of an old artist then, if you didn't know her when you were growing up. So she's been doing this for a while. Kate Bush?
Yes, Kate Bush.
Okay.
She's incredible.
It's a Caymanian name.
Right, I know. And she has this, she's a phenomenon, really. Like, her life story is really interesting. Her career path, her art is very strange, full of mime and theater. Her music, it's like art, pop, rock. It's just beautiful. I was being compared to her by some people. They would say, "You remind me of Kate Bush."
When you say art, rock, pop, I think about you.
Yeah. And I look a little bit like her, I guess. I mean, there's a similar vibe. I can see why people would compare me.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about her. But one day, this cute guy told me that I looked like Kate Bush, and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna check."
I gotta Google it. I gotta Google Kate Bush. Yeah.
I stayed up all night watching her movies or her videos on YouTube.
Right.
I was like, "Oh my god!" And I became totally obsessed with her.
Right.
And as happens when I get into things, I decided to basically put on a concert. I thought, well, what happened was I went to this house party and everyone was like on their phones and playing music, and everyone had kind of left the room for a minute. And I took this iPod that was hooked up and I put on Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush. And I thought nobody would know what this song is, but I want to dance to it.
Right.
And everyone flooded back in and started just interpretive dancing to this song. And I was like, wow, it'd be cool to do a dance party of Kate Bush, but play the music live. So I called 7 other women that I knew in San Diego. Some of them I knew better, some of them I knew of. And I was like, I want to do this band with women because I've never really played with women before. It's mostly men that I play music with, which is there's nothing wrong with playing music with men.
Now it's ringing a bell though.
Yeah, and I'm giving you the backstory. But it's 8 of us. And we do this Kate Bush show. And after we did that concert in San Diego, I couldn't believe the success it had because like Kate Bush is beloved by her fans, but it's like this hidden kind of secret in a way.
Right.
And it was just remarkable when that night came. So we decided, I guess we're going to do this. And 10 months later, we flew to the UK and her territory.
Right.
And we did this huge tour.
Crazy.
We met people close to her in her circle. She's still alive, but she's very reclusive.
Right.
And this has just taken off, and it's become a really fulfilling, beautiful, mysterious, and just there's a whole story to this band, and this project is a really big deal for me. Yeah.
Baby Bushka.
Baby Bushka.
So do you have to have the rights to perform her songs?
No. You can perform the songs. The venues usually are the ones responsible for paying royalties when people play covers.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Is that right?
Yes, but we did record an album, and we do pay royalties to her when we sell the album.
Okay.
So we did do an album of covers, and we filmed. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't film it. We recorded the entire thing to tape, analog style. Not a computer was not used not one time in the making of this record.
Wow.
So when you hear it, it was a very different experience for me.
Right.
And it's hard because you can't really edit anything,
Right.
And even when we mixed it live on the board.
Really? So you mixed it live, so you didn't mix it after the fact at all?
No, you record it. Sorry, you record it. But then, you have 16 tracks, right?
Right. And did you record each track individually or did you perform it?
Yes, we tried. Some of it is a little bit together because we played as a band. Like the drums and the bass and the piano were all in the same room. Mm-hmm. So there's bleed over, through the microphones. But we overdubbed the vocals. We added a lot of instruments. But when we mixed it, you're mixing it to tape and you have to do it live.
Right.
Bringing up these vocals.
Because it's finalized at the end of it, right? So you have to mix it as you go.
You record it and then they're just sitting on these on the ribbon. But then when you want to mix it and put it to and transfer it to a master where it's just one track,
right.
You have to do it live. It was very interesting.
I forgot about that. Actually,
it was, and if you wanted to make edits, you literally cut the tape and tape it back together.
That's crazy.
It was wild. And we were really lucky to have this recording engineer called Jordan Andreen, who's just an analog wizard and very passionate about this process.
Right.
So it's because of him that. But yeah, it's beautiful. It has this warm sound, and it has this rawness that you don't really get in music anymore because it's so digital, so edited so much. So there's a beautiful energy to this record.
Baby Bushka. So it sounds like you've done live performances, you've done music videos for it as well.
There's videos of us performing live.
Right,
and there's been no creation of a music video.
Right. And it's a 7-woman band.
8 women.
8-women band.
And there's choreographed dancing, 4 or 5-part vocal harmonies, props, costumes. It's almost it feels kind of musical theater, but I don't like to use that, but it's an experience. Mm-hmm. It's not imitation, but it's incredible to be there live because of what's interesting about Kate Bush is she never really performed. So she's a huge artist, but her fans don't get to experience her live.
Interesting.
Yes, so there's like this void and this hunger to experience her music live.
Right.
And so Baby Bushka kind of fills that, but in a different way, because there definitely are cover bands out there that do her stuff.
Okay.
But it's hard to describe. You have to kind of see it to believe it.
Right.
But there's a great website, ilovebabybushka.com, and you can see and hear it and kind of get
And that's
an
your
idea.
website.
That's the website for the band. Yeah, ilovebabybushka.com.
That's awesome stuff.
That's my promo thing.
Yeah, wow. So you have a lot going on.
Yeah, that keeps me busy because I book and I manage and I direct it, and I'm usually the one making the costumes, and so it's that's like a whole like part-time job.
Yeah, sounds like a full-time job.
Mm-hmm. So the personal music comes in bursts when it happens.
Right.
When it can.
Huh. That's so what do you edit? What software do you use?
For video?
Yeah.
I started on iMovie. The first Miss Natty music box is an iMovie cut.
Love it.
And then I upgraded to Final Cut.
Okay.
And so that's what I do.
Nice. That's super cool. Yeah, I spent a lot of time editing during COVID as well. You know, we were just sitting there.
Yeah.
It's perfect time.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool. And what you tell me about is it a music video or no? It's a film.
Yeah, it's a film.
Cool.
Yeah. So
how long is it going to be?
Well, if I use the full song for one of them, it's going to probably be maybe 8 minutes, 6 or 8 minutes. I would say it's a music video, but for me, it's like a little tiny film that I'm making because of just the nature of the narrative and the music.
Is there dialogue in it? Not that there has to be a film.
There isn't. No, there isn't. Although the first track is spoken, and it is a dialogue between two people. But it's how I wrote the song. It's not even really a song. It's just these messages that because the film is about the songs that I wrote at that time and for this film are these songs that I wrote after a dear friend who was a member of Baby Bushka. She was our piano player.
Right?
Yes. We all have Bush names, by the way, like the Spice Girls. She was Dark Bush. I'm Boss Bush. We'll talk about the names later, but yeah. So
she passed.
She passed away in a car crash on her way to my house.
No way.
And so our last text messages were something that I would read over and over and over again, after she died.
Right.
And a couple months after we buried her, these songs just started to pour out. It's just the way that I express things.
For sure.
And I thought, I'm going to record these. And so now it's 3 years later, pretty much. And I have been sitting with these songs, didn't know what to do with them, how to release them or anything.
Right.
And so that's what this film is supposed to help me do.
Okay.
Really, is to let it go, put it out there. But I felt like it needed something visual, something else to go along with it.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. To have those songs there and to sort of, I guess, release them. It sounds like in a way where you sort of have like a cathartic experience with it and processing those feelings.
Yeah, it felt that way even making it. Even I haven't finished editing it or released it, but just making the visuals for that for the film felt very, very healing. So
that must have been very traumatic for the band.
Oh, it was. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was traumatic for the entire city. She was a very powerful force, very well-known and beloved member of the music community there. When she died, they read her obituary at the city council. She
in San Diego?
In San Diego, yeah. She grew up there, so she was really well-known, and she was so prolific. She was such a talented musician. She was almost like in every project. Like every project had worked with her.
Right.
She was really talented, but one of the most amazing contributions she made to the city was that she co-founded a choir for homeless people called Voices of Our City Choir.
That's amazing.
Yes, and they actually went to America's Got Talent. I think you can look them up.
Right,
but she
she founded that?
She co-founded it with another musician called Steph Johnson.
Wow.
And she was like that. She was So she's left a really powerful legacy, but yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. That's tough. You were telling me about that the other night, and you were telling me that it sort of led you. Where did that lead you? Mystically. No, it was mythically.
Mythically,
you're reading
mystically, yeah.
you're reading a lot of mythical authors. You're telling me about a mythical
Yes.
a mythologist. Sorry,
Mythologists, yeah. It was led me to a lot of places. That's one of them. Well, in a way, yes. I guess her death, she's the first person in my life that I've lost that's been so close to me and so young.
Right.
You know, it's hard to lose someone young like that.
Right.
And I guess, yeah, her death changed my life in a lot of ways. One of the biggest things that I felt was a deep desire to have a richer and deeper inner world and spiritual life. So yeah, it led me on this kind of journey and quest for that. And also made me think a lot about death and grief and how I learned a lot about that as well.
Right.
I felt like we didn't really have, we've lost a lot of our I guess, common ways of dealing with it, right? It's become so individualized or personal preference that it's like, you know, in Victorian times, there was such strong, I mean, and a lot of cultures still today have just strong rituals around death that help you process it, right?
Right.
And so that was actually that was probably one of the most painful and difficult things about dealing with her death afterwards was just the lack of knowing how, or leadership, or just a container to do that in. So you kind of have to create it.
Right.
And I was consumed with that. I spent a good part of maybe 1 month or 2 months going through all of her poetry and music, and having friends transcribe it, and building her an entire website so that people could visit her and find out about her, and making sure that her work wasn't lost.
And what's her name and website?
NinaLeilaniDeering.com.
Nina
Leilani Deering.
Deering.
Yeah. If you go to the Baby Bushka website, there's a page called Dark Bush that's about her.
Let's put all these websites in the description.
Yeah. You can discover about her. So that's led me on a beautiful path that's just still ongoing and revealing itself.
Yeah, you know, this is something I definitely want to talk about. So I'm going to bring it up. But you mentioned Hildegard de Bingen.
Oh yeah, she's my girl. Yeah,
she's my girl. Like Hildegard de Bingen, Saint.
Yes.
Hildegard de Bingen.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, so how did you find her?
I had this cookbook, a magical cookbook, and she was in there. And I had heard about her through different, just little cosmic breadcrumbs that I've been following, and I just found her extremely fascinating. Her life, her music. She was this abbess.
That's right.
In medieval times.
That's right. In Germany.
Yes. And she was this mystic, but also this, botanist, and she composed music. She had visions. She wrote a lot. I mean, I haven't really read her work like you have, but I've kind of found her through her music and her imagery, and just through that. And I'm still discovering more. But one of the things that I do very often is I bake her cookies of joy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they're called?
They're called cookies of joy.
Huh.
Yeah. And they're called that because they have a lot of nutmeg in it, which she said, quote, would calm the bitterness of heart and open it up. And, she had all of these potions that she would make in her abbess with her women. And
she was awesome.
Yeah, she was awesome. Yeah.
Huh.
And
they're like the original Baby Bushkas.
Yeah, I know. That's what I feel. Actually, it's so funny. The image of this monastic woman is really beautiful to me. Right? It's a different kind of monastic woman, different than a nun, I feel like, which we grew up with.
Right.
So there's something about her that feels very romantic. I imagine her in this tower spiraling up to the heavens,
right,
with all of her plants everywhere.
Right.
And we talked about that film Mary Magdalene, the imagery of that actress in this film and as this almost 13th apostle, really beautiful. The reason I'm saying all of that is because it's been that kind of journey for me, this desire to want to have this experience that feels, I guess, just a more mystical connection to Christianity, to the mysteries, which led me to the forest, which with that, with the mythologists that I was telling you about.
Right.
But it's helpful to have these women, these sort of pillars that I can look up to, because I don't know if I've ever felt that they were there or that I knew much about them. But the second act in Baby Bushka that we've created it begins with the band, because the band is split in kind of two parts. There's like the guitarist, the bassist, the drummer, the violinist, and the piano player. And then there's the three women, me and two others, who dance and sing and tell the stories. And we're doing a lot of the choreography. Those 5 women walk on stage in our second act in full-on monk robes.
Nice.
To the sounds of bells, church bells.
Nice. Beautiful.
It's really beautiful. And they do this song that's called Big Stripey Lie that Kate Bush wrote, there's tons of Judeo-Christian imagery in her lyrics, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean,
cool.
this hit song from Stranger Things, the chorus is, "If I only could, I'd make a deal with God and I'd get him to swap our places." It's beautiful, a beautiful song.
Right.
And in this song, one of my favorite lyrics is, "Your name is being called by sacred things that are not addressed nor listened to. Sometimes they blow trumpets." And that's her, and that's how this song begins. And they kind of conjure and bring down the heavens, and so we come on stage after that song, which is a very powerful invocation, as the sun and the moon and the earth. And we sing, and it's this very beautiful story arc that continues, but it's the visual mood board is like space, the celestial bodies, monastic towers and bells, and I'm really proud of it. And then it ends with a bear wedding.
like the animal?
Yeah. I built this massive bear costume with the help of these 2 local artists.
Right.
And there's a bear wedding where this woman gets married to the wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's based on this myth called Valamon the bear, which is another great link you should put, told by the mythologist, storyteller Martin Shaw, Valamon the bear, about a woman who
and he's
marries
Orthodox.
He is Orthodox, yeah.
So let's stay with Hildegard. I want to know about her music, because I only know her from her writings, which I've told you, I mean, they are just like visionary. You're looking at all these vivid colors and landscapes. I'm like, how can she do this with her writing?
Yeah.
So that's all I really, but I knew that she wrote music, and you performed some of the music. What's her music like?
I haven't performed. I've started to study it. I've gotten this teacher who's like just very knowledgeable, did her thesis or PhD in it.
On Hildegard?
On Hildegard and music, and performs a lot of it. And I found her because she was performing Hildegard in this church that I just stumbled into.
Right.
Felt kismet. I was like, wow. Her music is so, I mean, it's of its time. Right. Which is, this medieval chant. It's modal music. It's
what does that
really
mean, modal
beautiful.
music?
It's in, oh God, I gotta describe this now. Let's see. I'm learning about it as well. It's this kind of scale, I guess you'd say. Like you have the C major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Right.
Okay. So modal music has very specific scales that have a certain sound, and the harmonies are just very different than what we would listen to now, or the kind of music being made now.
Right,
so it's, when you hear it, you're like, oh, that sounds medieval.
Right.
It's really beautiful. And she was telling me, actually, this teacher, that each mode had certain flavors to them or connections, and there were the harmony. It's fascinating in itself. But her lyrics, her poetry, is really beautiful, and it's all very connected to nature. And she talks a lot about the greening branch. And when you read like the one song that I've started to learn, I mean, I can't quote it, but it's "Oh Hail, O Greenest Branch" or something like this. She talks about the leaves, and I mean, she's talking about Christ as well, but it's through nature. Right. And I think that's what's so powerful about her visuals, her writings, her everything. It's this very
it's like fruitful. I'm like generative.
It's
It's like there's so much life.
Yes, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, in her work.
It's full of life. It's full of she talks about this greeniness, veriditas. I don't know how she would describe it, but there's this element that feels like it's alive and it's so connected on the earth. It's not floating in the heavens, totally cut off.
Right.
It's on ground. It's earthbound, but also flying high, and it's just it's ecstatic feeling. So, and something about her listening to her music, it's just takes me. It's elevating.
Right.
Elevating.
I'd love to listen to some of her music. I'm definitely going to YouTube, see what's out there. I think she's
lots,
I think she's a doctor of the church,
Really?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean to be a doctor of the church?
It means like you're at the highest level. There's like 12 of them. So it's so you have to be a saint first.
Okay.
And then after a saint, that's hard enough.
Yeah.
And then it's like the cream of the crop become doctors of the church. And it just basically means that through their life and work, they've added something to the mystery of the church.
Wow.
Yeah. So like Thomas Aquinas would be one, St. John of the Cross, and I think Hildegard de Bingen's a doctor, if I'm not mistaken.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah.
She's underrated, man. Like not a lot of people have heard about her, but she's a star.
Yeah, right. And I feel this. I don't know, but I feel like I don't know much about church history, and I'm a novice, but a lot of the mystical heart of the church was kind of done away with the Reformation, maybe, right? Or it wasn't. I mean, it was a really big part of the church in the medieval times, and
for sure,
these, now I feel, and a lot of beautiful things were made because of that, right?
Right.
We wouldn't have Hildegard,
right?
But you need those people to be in those towers thinking about these things and having these visions. I think, you do. And so, and I'm very attracted to that. I know that you are too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, the church definitely changed since the Reformation. Maybe it needed to change. I know there was a lot of
for sure
bad practices, but definitely that traditional aspect was diluted, I think, with the Reformation. And, it's kind of trickled down into where we are today, so that even like you were saying just now, when your friend died, there was no sort of common universal mode for dealing with that death, whereas in medieval Christianity, that would not have been the case.
Yeah, like I wanted to have all the mirrors covered in my house. I mean, like my friend is Jewish, was telling me about the kind of rituals that they have surrounding death, and I was like, I wish that we could do all of that.
Is that what they do? Cover mirrors?
Yeah, I mean, he was saying that the minute you hear of someone close to you dying, you fall on your knees, you rip a hole in your clothes. You have the body in your home. You are allowed to you cover the mirrors, and people bring you food, like the community, the way it comes around you.
Right.
And then there's like these different. I don't quote me on any of this, but there's like certain time periods, like what you do the first 7 days, what you do after the month.
Right.
And the year is a very important marker as well, which I felt too, And then after a year, they're like, okay, it's time to get on with your life,
Right.
But you have that time to really feel all of that. But, like even her it was bizarre. It was very bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, I know in Belize, they will, I remember you take the body down the road in the neighborhood, and you go all through the neighborhood, and then people come out and they stand on their doorsteps, or they come and they join the parade, and
those are meaning-making actions that we as humans need in our life, right? Like when she died, nobody. It was so funny, like her body was transported because she died kind of miles away on this freeway, and she was taken to the morgue. I'd never been to see, I remember seeing my great-grandmother, but a good friend of her parents didn't want to visit her. And one of her really good friends, there was like 3 women that were helping her family cope with this. She was like, I want to visit Nina. And she was the only one. And she told me that. She's like, yeah, you're right. I want to too. I want to go see her. She's like, I just want to give her a rose and say goodbye, because they were going to cremate her. And I had this image. It was so romantic in my mind. I had this image of her and this furnace of flames, and just putting a rose on her body as they push her into this, this oven,
Right.
And it was the most bizarre experience to go there, and the way she didn't, I couldn't recognize her, and the way whoever did her face, the smile they put on her, it was shocking, and it was the first time since she had died that I had felt so much anger. and and
At her loss?
at her, at me for going to witness her like this. I just, yes, and just really angry at everything, but also just my first time feeling angry at her for dying, and also just in myself for seeing her in this way. I don't know, something about it just felt so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, all of those experiences made me feel very much like this is, so I did my best what I could, and everyone did as well. And it was beautiful in the end, how we remembered her and everything, but it makes you think a lot about those things.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So your dad's in Lebanon right now?
He is.
Yeah. And you're going to Lebanon?
I'm going to Lebanon.
When?
In 2.5 weeks or so.
How long will you be there for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
For Christmas, yeah.
So I've never been to Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear your story. 2006, was it?
Yeah.
When you were in Lebanon, and I remember my dad telling us or messaging us saying, the Kozailis are in Lebanon and the war has just broken out.
Oh my God.
What war was this again?
The 2006 Israeli war on I mean, it was a war that was started, as I remember, through some Hezbollah who was, I don't know what they had done to basically piss off Israel. And,
Right.
You know, it's a long, complicated saga, but Israel, I just remember waking up one day. I can only tell from my experience. I'm not going to try to explain why this war happened, or because how old was I? I was 16, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been there for 6 weeks celebrating. My brother was baptized. It was beautiful. Lebanon was flourishing. I had tickets to a Sean Paul concert in Lebanon.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was so excited for it. I never went though.
Because of the war?
Yes, because of the war. So I woke up one day and everyone's in the living room. My uncle's there. They're all smoking cigarettes on their phones. The news is on. And they're like, Israel just bombed the airport. I was like, what?
Like the main Beirut airport?
Beirut airport.
Huh.
And it began. Israel
Right.
basically bombed a lot of infrastructure. They were bombing the port and stuff like that.
Right.
So you couldn't go anywhere.
Wow.
You're stuck. And then what preceded was just a lot of trying to figure out how to get out of the country.
Right.
And a lot of people were in that same boat because there were a lot of tourists that summer. It was
Right.
so I just remember going down to the American embassy and the British embassy and just trying desperately to kind of get on some kind of list, you know.
Right.
And
so your brother was just baptized, so he was
just
a
baptized.
child.
Yeah.
Huh.
And
your whole family was there?
My whole family was there, and we were people. There were stories of people trying to escape through the Syrian border, to do all these things. So we were just there, and finally, through my uncle, I think, who helped us get on a list with the British embassy, because you know, people with small children, my brother and sister were very small.
Right.
They were supposed to get kind of priority to kind of get out. It was very difficult. There was a lot of panic, and there was a lot of people trying to escape and go home. So anyway, I just remember we woke up really early one day, and I went first. They took me down to the port where the British Navy was there, and you could only bring a tiny little bag, and you lined up, and the Red Cross was there, and it was an experience. They put us on these buses with huge British flag on them to drive us to the port.
Right.
And we get there, and it's this massive ship.
Right.
And we got on, and we sailed to Cyprus.
Uh-huh.
I remember there was this cute little sailor, British sailor, who gave me and my brother a tour of the ship.
Nice.
Which is really nice. And then I just remember just sitting on the deck and just watching Lebanon, you know, further away in the distance.
Huh.
And then we get to Cyprus, and it was just big warehouses of people set up with the Red Cross was there. There were people trying to book flights. You know, we had to go through all these extra machines. It was a very tiring, long experience. And then finally they put us all on this plane that just flew us to London.
From Cyprus to London?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
So you left Lebanon by boat?
To Cyprus, and then Cyprus to London.
To London.
Yeah, and that's it. And then you're on your own. Find your
How
way
long was that
after
process?
I think it was like 2 days of
Right.
traveling.
Right.
Because I remember when we got on the boat really early in the morning, and then that's hours, you know, being processed to get on the ship. Then you get on the ship, and that's like maybe 2 or 3 hours, I think, to Cyprus, and then you're there. And I just remember we got on that plane to London, I think at 4 a.m. or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like that. It's kind of, it's been a long time, but I wrote about the entire thing.
That's right.
And put it in the
compass.
The compass, yeah. They put it on the first page, yeah. And so
we'll have to go dig that up.
Yeah, can dig that up.
Yeah. So you have more detail in there, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah. And I used to write a blog in the compass.
That's right. You did. What was that called?
Diary of a Caymanian Gypsy.
There you go. Yeah.
And it was these travel stories. Joe Schumann, who used to work at the compass.
I know Joe.
Yes,
yeah.
He was very supportive. I mean, he was my editor and whatever.
Right.
And I would send these things too. But
I remember reading some of them. That's right.
Yeah. Huh. So that was an experience. So.
So you never saw any bombs drop? You never saw any?
I heard them, and I heard guns.
Really?
And I could hear planes. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And there was some like scary experiences. Just some, like, I remember the day that we my cousin was taking us to the British Embassy in Beirut. And it was because we live in the mountains. So you kind of feel like safe and surrounded by trees.
You said that,
there.
yeah.
But when you go to the city, it's a little bit more daunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we went to the British Embassy, and there's just like crowds of people just waving these applications, just trying to get them to take it. It was wild. And we're in Beirut going through these streets, and there was this loud bang, this explosion sound. And I was like, Alan, what was that? He's like, oh, nothing. And then he starts speeding down these like one-way roads.
Right.
I mean, people drive crazy down there. And we're just like, we drove up in silence once we were in the mountains, he stopped to get us ice cream.
Right.
And so I was just so stressed out. We're like, I had this ice cream. I'm looking at the TV in the ice cream shop, and there's all these people like boarding all these boats, France, and all these other embassies. And I'm just like, oh my God, I wish I was on one of those boats right now. And right at that moment, this car was passing, and their tire popped, and it sounded like a gun.
Wow.
And everyone in the street, you could like feel
flinched.
Everyone in the street.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when I had my meltdown right after that. I was like, oh, I was pretty strong until then. But, also I was amazed by my family. They were so calm. I mean, they're used to this, so.
And there's a history there.
Yeah. I was like, why is everyone freaking out? They're like, this is Lebanon. I was like, okay.
When's the last time you've been to Lebanon?
I was just there in May.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since the pandemic, you have been there then?
Yes, I was there right before the pandemic.
So
and after, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's crazy inflation there now.
It's very, very sad.
What?
Yes.
How does that? I don't know how that manifests. Obviously, other than high prices, what are some of the things that sort of happen in the social fabric when you have that hyperinflation?
Well, it's a very depressed feeling when you go there now.
Right.
Right. Like before, I remember it felt like the life of the party.
Right.
Everyone was going out. Downtown Beirut was thriving. Mm-hmm. The pubs, the restaurants, everything was open. People were enjoying life. Mm-hmm. And now it's very quiet. The downtown city is full of graffiti because of the protests. Mm-hmm. There's just, it feels like there's no government, there's no real kind of services. People are, definitely struggling. And so I don't know, I couldn't tell you much, about how it's, really it's full on effect, but there's a lot of sadness, a lot of struggle, a lot of, lack of food, lack of medicine, just, it's really, you can't really take out money at the bank. You can only allowed to take out a certain amount. Right, so it's limiting as far as what you can do, I guess. Right. So it's pretty sad. Yeah.
So are things there now just like ultra cheap for somebody coming from the US or Cayman?
No. Feels, it doesn't feel, that things are cheap. No, it feels expensive actually. And also, they only want American money when you buy things.
Right.
Yeah.
US dollar. Strongest currency in the world, baby.
Yeah. And also, and
stable.
There was,
what is it, the Lebanese pound?
The Lebanese lira. Yeah. Which, I don't know how much it is now to the dollar, but.
Who wants that?
It's if when you had your money in the bank and then now it's like worthless. So it's pretty sad.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Yeah, I'd still love to go one day. I had some cousins went this year, and
You need to.
yeah,
You need to go. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Even with all of this, the people have this spirit that's just remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a gorgeous place, and there's still so much life and culture, and a lot of really beautiful young people who are trying to make changes and making films. Did you see Capernaum?
No, I like the name though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Nadine Labaki is a Lebanese director, filmmaker.
Okay.
Her films are incredible, but this one, I think it was nominated for an Academy Award a couple years
Oh
ago.
yeah.
Really, I feel like that would give you a pretty good idea about
What it's like on the ground there.
maybe especially for a refugee, which, there's lots and lots of refugees in Lebanon.
Is that right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
From where?
From Syria, from Palestine, from all over the Middle East. When this Syrian war happened, Lebanon, a country already struggling to support its people, accepted millions of Syrian refugees.
Right.
So there's a lot of there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
So, but that film was incredible and interesting how they made it, and really stunning and beautiful. So I highly recommend that.
Capernaum.
Yeah, Capernaum. She has other films too, which I think would give you a good idea of culture, society, people.
Right.
All her films are very Lebanese, about Lebanese people and Lebanese society.
I remember you shared me a link. It was a YouTube series.
I love Beirut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beirut, I love you, or something like that.
Yes, Beirut,
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Munya Akil, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she's also come up to be a great
Actress?
director.
Okay.
She acts too. I think she just had a film called Costa Brava, Lebanon.
Okay. Is that show still happening?
I can't find it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've removed it or where.
Really?
but
So even
no,
on
no,
YouTube
no.
you can't find it?
Yeah, last time I looked, I had trouble finding it, but
That was fun. I love those episodes.
yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're off to Beirut, or off to Lebanon,
Yes.
and then back to San Diego.
Back to San Diego. Yep. For a
What's the
whole
plan?
year.
What's
the
what's up with 2024?
Oof. Well, I want to tour with Baby Bushka. We're
Yeah.
planning some shows, so that's
Where?
exciting. Well, we've got some local SD LA, San Diego LA shows,
Cool.
which always do really well, and then we're working on East Coast tour for the first time, and then we're hoping to go back to the UK in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of secret projects in mind.
I'm
that
sure you
just,
do.
I'm gonna chip away at.
All right.
So yeah, lots of things on the creative cutting board.
Mhm.
Really, yeah.
Will you
which I'm
bring-
excited about?
Will you bring Baby Bushka to Cayman?
Yeah, no, I've thought about that.
Have you?
If the invitation is there and the money, because it's 8 women, by the way, so it's expensive. It's
Right.
not cheap
Right.
to bring us all
Right.
places. I would love to bring Baby Bushka here.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that there's lots of British people here who might like Kate Bush.
Right.
You don't need to like Kate Bush to like Baby Bushka, though.
I hear you.
Yeah. So
I hear you.
that would be really fun. But I would also love to come here and just play music again, or
Right.
I miss being involved in. I feel like I used to come down and there'd always be something I would be doing, either teaching at the CNCF or,
Right.
I was doing a lot of stuff with the Miss Julia Hyde's
Right.
thesis.
I
for a
remember
while,
watching
like
that.
different talks or, things like that. You filmed me playing music here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to maybe do something next time, because
Yeah.
I miss participating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to meet Andrea Williams. She does Cool Out, which was the music festival that just happened.
Okay.
So you should definitely at least keep that on your radar.
All right. Well, you're my link. You're going to send me all these things so I can add them to my calendar.
For sure. And Red Sky would bring you back in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's February.
Okay.
That might be a place for Baby Bushka.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
On stage or something.
That'd be cool.
and-
Yeah, the Harkwell, that is a great stage. That would
Yeah.
be good. That would be really fun. I'd be down for that.
Yeah,
You planted some seeds.
we miss you in Cayman. The art scene, it has grown incrementally.
Mhm. It feels like that. Yeah.
People are doing their things, and artists are, pushing their agendas and, getting things done and coming together and making music and music videos. And
Yeah.
I feel like COVID dampened it a bit, but it didn't kill it.
Yeah.
But I think before COVID, there was a lot going on in the art scene. And yeah, it would be great to have you back. I mean, I know, I feel like Caymanians sort of have to go abroad I think that's part of the Caymanian journey. I mean, even if you look at historically with the Caymanian men, that's exactly what they did. You know, they're well traveled.
Definitely.
And Caymanians today are still well traveled. On the average. And but yeah, we have open hearts for you here.
Thank you,
Natasha. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's lovely to hear. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Because I love Cayman, and I miss it all the time.
Yeah. Even though it's a little bit of a bubble, right?
Even though it feels like a little bit of a bubble sometimes, it's nice to, I mean, today was the first day we spent most of it in South Sound, and we're going to go up to East End tomorrow. And I just think I just need to make sure that I go to those places.
Right.
Because they remind me of my childhood.
Right.
They feel, the architecture, the landscape. It hasn't changed that much.
Yeah, it hasn't. East End hasn't really changed very much at all, has it? Yeah.
So it's just, I feel so grateful to come from here and still,
Be able to come back.
Yeah, still be able to come back and,
Great. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much for being a part of the In Cayman podcast. It's great to see you.
My pleasure. It was great. Thank you for having me.
Bye.